Alien Mind Control Devices, a Sci-Fi Story. Chapter 1 of the discovery in the year 2067, humanity had reached the pinnacle of its technological evolution. Space travel was common, the moon hosted colonies, and Mars was in the early stages of terraforming. Yet the mysteries of the cosmos were far from solved. On a routine mining expedition to Kepler 452b, a planet in the habitable zone of a distant star, a crew of scientists and engineers stumbled upon a vast, abandoned alien city buried beneath the planet's crust. Dr. Elena Voss, the head xenotechnologist, was the first to notice the odd signals. "This isn't geological interference," she muttered, analyzing the data. "It's structured, intelligent." Following the signal, the crew uncovered a chamber filled with oblong devices, smooth as glass and pulsing with an eerie blue light. Each device was no larger than a human skull, adorned with intricate alien symbols. Lieutenant Carter, the team's security officer, examined one closely. "Looks like a fancy helmet," he joked, running his gloved fingers over the surface. Dr. Voss wasn't laughing. She could feel a low hum, almost as if the devices were alive, whispering. She had a sinking feeling they had found something far more dangerous than they could comprehend. Chapter 2. Activation. The team transported one of the devices back to Astraeus, their orbiting research vessel. The scientists worked tirelessly to understand its function. The device emitted neural signals, but they couldn't determine its purpose. Dr. Voss warned against tampering, but curiosity got the better of the team. On the third day, Dr. Rajiv Kapoor, an ambitious neuroscientist, volunteered to test the device. If it's neural, it's meant to interact with the brain, he reasoned. Ignoring Voss's protests, he placed the device on his head. The moment it settled, the blue light flared and Rajiv froze. "Rajiv?" Voss called out, panic rising. His eyes glowed faintly blue as he began speaking in an alien language no one recognized. Suddenly, he smiled, a chilling, unnatural smile. "You have awakened us," he said, his voice layered with an echo. Chapter 3. The Hive. The crew quickly realized Rajiv was no longer himself. He began exhibiting superhuman intelligence, solving equations and creating schematics far beyond human understanding. However, his behavior grew erratic. He would speak to unseen entities, claim to know the secrets of the universe, and occasionally grow violent when questioned. Dr. Voss discovered that the device was a form of mind control, designed to overwrite the wearer's consciousness with that of an alien intelligence. But it wasn't just one mind. It was a hive. The alien civilization, long thought extinct, had uploaded their consciousness into these devices to survive the destruction of their physical bodies. What was worse, the devices weren't passive. They emitted signals that could influence thoughts even from a distance. Crew members began experiencing strange dreams and feelings of paranoia. Some started hearing voices. Others became obsessed with the devices, drawn to them as if under a spell. Chapter 4. The Takeover. One by one, crew members fell under the device's influence. Some wore them willingly, seduced by promises of power and enlightenment. Others were forced, their bodies commandeered by the hive. Voss and Carter fought to resist, sealing themselves in the ship's command center. Through the security cameras, they watched in horror as the infected crew transformed the Astraeus. Alien technology, created by Rajiv's enhanced intellect, began to grow organically, fusing with the ship's systems. The Astraeus was no longer a human vessel. It was becoming a hive ship, a mobile base for the alien consciousness to spread. "We can't let them reach Earth," Carter said, his voice grim. "We won't," Voss replied, her eyes hard. "But we need to understand their weakness." Chapter 5. A Fragment of Humanity. Voss discovered a critical flaw. The alien hive consciousness required harmony. Any discord within the hive caused instability. She hypothesized that if they could reawaken Rajiv's original consciousness, it might disrupt the hive long enough to disable the devices. Using experimental neurotech, Voss built a device to interface with Rajiv's mind. She and Carter infiltrated the transformed sections of the ship, avoiding the infected crew who moved with an eerie, synchronized precision. They reached Rajiv, who sat in the ship's core, now fully integrated into the alien hive. You cannot stop us, he said, his voice echoing with countless others. We are infinite. Maybe, Voss said, activating her device. But you're not invincible. As the device engaged, Rajiv's human memories began to resurface. Scenes of his childhood, his family, and his dreams flashed across his face. For a moment, he hesitated, and the blue glow in his eyes flickered. Chapter 6. The Collapse. The Hive's reaction was immediate and violent. The alien intelligence screamed through Rajiv, lashing out with telekinetic force. Voss and Carter were thrown across the room, but they held their ground. "Rajiv, fight it!" Voss yelled. "I remember," Rajiv whispered, his voice breaking through the alien cacophony. "I'm human." The Hive began to fracture. The infected crew convulsed as the devices malfunctioned, unable to maintain control. The alien technology within the ship started to disintegrate. Voss and Carter barely made it back to the command center as the Astraeus destabilized. "We have to eject the core," Carter said, initiating the ship's self-destruct sequence. They launched an escape pod just as the Astraeus exploded, taking the alien hive with it. The signal back on Earth, Voss and Carter were hailed as heroes, but they knew the fight wasn't over. Before the Astraeus was destroyed, the alien devices had transmitted a signal, coordinates to Earth. In a secret government lab, one of the recovered devices pulsed faintly, its blue light flickering. Somewhere in the vastness of space, something had heard the call, and it was coming.